Hello, welcome Rahul. You're watching me on YouTube channel of my talks, and if you're watching me consistently, welcome back to my channel. See, whenever I come in front of you, I have a purpose. I want to instill positivity and try to talk something valuable. So whenever you will be ready to invest your time in something valuable, you'll certainly be able to watch videos that can be informative, that can give you better insights, better judgment. Because whatever information you have, those are digital asset, in current time. And if you'll be using your aptness, your incisive mind to interpret data and to bring meaningful solution with the help of data, because if you can operate on that, so it is a digital currency nowadays, and digital currency means liquid currency. Whatever you want to create out of that, you can create a better life standard, because we know exactly that we have conditioned this world in monetary values and financial abundance. So whoever have access to better profitability in their business, or and maximization of their remuneration in their job, they're able to live a better life. And that is what we want to foster. We want to provide you knowledge that can deepen your insight, that can provide you certain insight. Based on that, you can be someone who can have opportunities, because pulling off exactly each and every time is important, because everyone has participated in this mad scramble, what we call the game, of jobs and opportunities. And entrepreneurship is also something which is very competitive. Even if you go to do a business, you have to understand exactly that initially when you will do a startup, your company's valuation will be done based on competitiveness, comparable industries living in that very area. That is what you have to understand. If you start a business, yeah, you know exactly that you will go to find a unique name, and thereafter memorandum of association and article with pan and tan, and you enlist your, all your companies, and you'll get certificate of incorporation. With that, you'll make EPFO for your, for your employees, and then you will do also a state insurance, and thereafter you will proceed for commencement of your business when you allocate the shareholders, and when they will deposit their money in your bank account, then you get certificate of commencement of business. That is what is initial knowledge that I have gave you. But after that, when you will go for funding of your business, you have many ways to fund your business. One is bank assessment, capital assessment, bank credit assessment. Bank will provide you. Another things are that you approach angel investors, venture capitalists, private equity firm, institutional investors. There are many ways. Even private institutions are unicorn. That we what physics wala is example of that. Even private companies are becoming unicorn. Thereafter, if you want to enlist it publicly, you can bring IPOs and enlist it all together. But you have to know exactly what they are looking for. If you try to create a business, you have got commencement of your business, and thereafter you want to bring money because you have invested some amount in your business, and you want to scale it up. Then you have to approach angel investors. Suppose in your family or in friendship or better people residing in your fraternity or in a vicinity, they will provide you certain assistance. Or you approach some private, venture capitalist, who can invest much more based on your business. So initially your business will have some revenue, but it will not be strong enough to put crores of profitability. You have to bring capital and infuse capital in your business. Then only you can maximize its revenue, and after some years, it will be facing some profit. So initially you have revenues, and if the angel investors or venture capitalists will want to invest in you, they will look after who are founders of that business, what are their capabilities initially, and they will look after not only your capacity but sometimes initial balance sheet, and what is the position of market, who are your initial buyers, are they recurring buyers or not, what kind of revenue you are making, is it recurring revenue or not, what are the possibilities of scaling that business. Whatever revenue will be initial, they will multiply with it almost. That is what will be valuation of your company. But valuers values your company as per Companies Act, and that is what is your valuation of your company. It is not authorized capital. It is what it could be scaled very rapidly. Suppose your authorized capital is 10 lakh, and your share is almost 1 lakh, and you have your initial investments only suppose 1 lakh or 2 lakh, and you have founded that great business, you are running that great business. But if your founders are educated, if market perception is there. If buyers are there, cash flow statement can be generated, revenue could be possible. That is what they will analyze, and if they see that there is a positive growth, then they will try to invest in that very business. So that is where revenue come in place, and comparable, that I told you initially, that competition, what are the comparable business in that very vicinity, and what are the products of yours. Unique product is there, not there is not. It can be copied or not easily. It can be scaled or not. That is what they look after, and thereafter they will invest in your business. And once they will invest in your business, suppose you allocate them, your business value is 5 crore, 10 lakh authorized capital only. But if valuation goes to 5 crore, because you have some revenue, suppose 80 lakh rupees or 1 crore approx, then it may go up to 5 to 8 crore valuation. That is what they will do, valuation. And after that valuation, suppose someone else wants to invest in your company 2 crore rupees, then pre-market valuation is suppose 8 crore, then after 2 crore it will be 10 crore rupees valuation. So 2 crore rupees, divided by already subscribe paid up capital, suppose 10,000, if you will divide that, so one price will come 2,000 rupees, one share price. But it is not what is allocated. The face value is only 10 rupees. So 90 goes to your premium, subscribe shares, premium shares, and that goes to security premium shares account. So 90 is security premium share, and only 10 rupees is your face value. So once you will look after your authorized capital only that much, suppose you are 2,000 rupees per share, then you divide total share. Initially you had 10,000, and 2,000 share, suppose 2,000 rupees per share is there, so you have to calculate that much amount, 2 crore divided by 2,000 per share, and whatever will be the share that will be allocated to that very person. So share dilution is calculated in that very way. It is not much more, but rather much money goes to security valuation, premium account. That is what it will help you to build your company. It will not dilute your authorized capital totally, but rather very fraction of margin will go from your from your own source holding. Suppose initially you had 10,000 shares, and initially you had 100% ownership, then only suppose 16 point something will go to another owner who is investing in, because your valuation is going from 8 crore to 10 crore rupees. Suppose that will be calculated, based on that. Because fraction of amount, when you will dilute that, it will become huge, because face value is only 10, and security amount, premium amount, security premium amount is much more. That is what is scaling up. And once the valuation will go again of the company, the next valuation will be done, based on that, and revenue and market perception, it will go multiply. And once the valuation will grow, your worth will grow. That 10,000 only worth 8 crore today, it will be worth of 10 crore. Suppose 2 crore someone invested, next time 100 crore will be invested, 500 crore will be invested. Your suppose your percentage goes to 52%. Even then, initially it was 8 crore, later on it will become 500 crore rupees of worth. That kind of a scalement will happen if you have unique product, if you have market perception, if you have competitive idea. You can certainly initiate your business in perfect way. So these are the notional calculation. I'm telling you exact calculation I would not be able to tell you, but I have to calculate, and I have to bring Excel further in order to tell you exactly what will be perception, what will be the percentage. But I'm telling you according to my understanding how the valuations are done. How people think that their authorized capital will be diluted, only 10 lakh is value. No, authorized capital is different, issued capitals are different, and security premium value is different, and face value is different, valuation of the company is different, and what ground valuation will be done, I have already told you. Competitiveness, founders credit, what kind of founders are leading that very company, and company's growth, what will be the percentage. And after that, when it will go for IPO, suppose 10,000 crore, 1 billion valuation comes, and you goes to public, your private company goes to public and listed. Then in that very IPO, market bankers will come, they will evaluate how to do, valuation of your company, their discounted cash flow, that is what will be done. The future cash flows that will be calculated, and the present time, present value of that very future income will be evaluated. Based on that, the valuation of your company will be calculated initially. Later on, market will decide your value, because demand and supply will decide when it will be publicly listed. So that kind of intensity and intention, if you keep, you certainly be able to build your business and being a unicorn in this world. Because a small person, physics wala was a single person, individual entity, individual person, and that is what he has created today, a mega company, a unicorn company, which is being run very in some very short time. So these are the examples which can make you understand exactly how you can make your company from zero to hero. That is what I want to describe, and I know exactly that you would be knowing initially. I have already talked about balance sheet. What are balance sheets? What are profit loss statements? What are cash flows? What are trading account? I have already talked about all these things. So balance sheet. If you know exactly balance sheet, what are balance sheet? Balance sheet is a picture of your business on a particular date and time. What were your asset? What were your liabilities? Liabilities are the sources and assets are the users of the funds, that I already talked about. What are capitals, what are reserves, what are long-term sources, that means long-term debt. What are short-term sources, I have already talked about. In the asset side, I have talked about what are your fixed assets, companies assets, building, land, machineries. These are the fixed assets of the company. The non-current asset and current asset, I've already talked about. Intangible assets, so at a particular time, assets and liability will be equal, because sources will define what are the uses of funds. So you have to understand how the capitals are being invested, how reserves have been stored, and when you will need term loans, long-term sources, you will be able to get it from either from people or from investors. When capital can be infused, from share equity. That is what happens when you bring 200 people in private equity. Maximum 200 people can subscribe. They can take capital shares, share premium. That is what this share premium goes to your security premium account. So capital and reserves, you have to understand exactly. And thereafter, term loan, for machineries, for cash and working capital cycle. Working capital is required. So all these things of businesses, you'll be able to understand exactly when you run your business and initially take participation. And once you start your business and you have that standard to execute, you'll certainly be able to create a unicorn. That is what we want. That is what we want to witness. And profit and loss account, I have already talked about. How raw material consumptions are created, how all the sales happen, how you'll bring your EBITDA. I've talked about that, earning before income tax, depreciation, and interest, EBITDA. Thereafter, operating profit and net profit. I have talked about that. So all these things, when you will be knowing that, you'll certainly be able to dominate, and you will have a good insight. So keep listening to me. I will be delivering all this knowledge through mere talk. You will invest your 15 minutes and you'll get vital information that nobody else can talk about. This in this little time, I want to make you understand the structure of total business. How will you run your business? How you create a unicorn? What are the internal things? What are the all the requirements? When you will know, then only you'll be able to run your business. So business requirement is a different thing. So you have to create that intention in your mind that you want to run a big business. So don't take tension that you have to bring all capital on your own. Initially, if you have 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 12 lakh, 15 lakh, you can start a small business. Later on, you can scale it up. MSMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises. Later on, it will be converted into corporate entities, and that corporate entities could be taken a part of public entities. That is what happens. The small institutions become, mega institutions. How these are created. So all this knowledge you have to keep in your mind in order to advance. And second thing that I always talk about, you become apt. First of all, I talk about that, how to create business mindset, how to create extraordinary experience, and thereafter I talk about sometimes metaphysical reality, spiritual reality. If you align your perspective spiritually well, you can dominate. That is what you want to do, and you can dominate. Because see, our internal structure and our internal state is more important. Once you'll have internal state better, outer state will start aligning itself as whatever you are from internal capacity. And I'm telling you, it is not easier. When you will dive into metaphysical reality, you will see that you'll be able to ground yourself, but it requires a lot of guts and a lot of patience. And patience are examined in metaphysical reality. That is what I'm telling you. And once you learn this, you will have patience to execute your business. You'll have standards. You'll have moral strength. A mindset that can build a better business. So outer reality will be shaped by your inner wisdom. That is what I'm telling you. And that is what the synchronization of both are important. Thank you for listening to me.